Hi everyone, my name is Molly Locker and I am with Sunny Care Services. I started Sunny Care Services just to help families figure out what they should do after they lose a loved one. My family experienced a sudden loss, and it was really startling for our family because it was my husband's brother who was only 42 at the time. So there was just a lot to do, and it felt unclear, how do we do it? What should we be doing? And who can do it for us? So that's what Sunny Care Services does. Because of that, I am really a big advocate of how do you get yourself organized for anything that could happen to you, whether that's passing away or just even just being incapacitated for whatever reason. I think it is important to acknowledge our own mortality a lot of times and just acknowledge that our family would need to figure things out and we owe it to them to make it as easy as possible. And so what I am about to go through is some resources that I think are really helpful for doing that in the least invasive way possible, because obviously I know no one likes to talk about this stuff. I know it is not pleasant to do, and it can be sad sometimes. And so these resources help back you into just getting your information organized in the most efficient way possible so that your family can be set up for success if they need to take care of something on behalf of you. So let's go through it. So one of the bigger resources that I'm a big proponent of is online document repositories for estate-related information. There is a lot of technology advancements done in this area. And so when I talk about online repositories, I don't mean things like Google Cloud, the Google Drive, things like that, Dropbox. I am talking about a cloud-based service, but that is intended for your estate-related information only. And so these options that you see here on the screen, Everplans, Cake, and Ruby, are designed for that. So I know Everplans, for instance, is compliant with HIPAA, and it is also has the same security precautions as online banking does. So it is super secure, and it is because it's holding a lot of sensitive information on you. So how this works is these online repositories basically walk you through what does your family need to know if something happens to you. And Everplans is one I'm a huge advocate of. I'm actually, I have a professional license with them, and all of my clients who work with me get a subscription as part of our service offerings because I'm just so passionate about it. And so it'll walk you through, okay, tell me, what is the unlock code to your phone? Where do you keep the deeds and titles to your property in your house? Let's say you're not comfortable putting what your banking information is in Everplans, but you feel like you could say where you bank, you can put that kind of thing in. What I describe these online repositories as is like a treasure map. So this is leading your family to where are things stored. You don't necessarily have to put all of the information in these, but giving your family a head start to know, okay, the titles and deeds are located in the home safe, and here is the access code to the home safe, or they're in our safe deposit box at this bank, at this branch. Here's who is listed as authorized to sign over and open those boxes on behalf of me. I mean, that is the kind of information that can make families spiral because they don't know where to start. And so I think it is so wise to check out these online repositories and just see which one you feel most comfortable with, and what you feel like most resonates with you. I will say a really key feature of Everplans, and I believe that all of them have some kind of feature like this, where you're assigning somebody who is going to receive this information upon your passing. So the way it works with Everplans, for instance, is you assign a deputy. That deputy is somebody who you trust. It could be an executor, it could be a family member, but this is someone who will receive this information upon your incapacitation or your passing. And so they would basically receive a full PDF download of everything that you put into Everplans, which is awesome because that's the purpose, right? If you're going to upload all this information and get it all in one place, the intention is that it needs to get in the right hands when they need it. And so Everplans is great about making sure that you're picking the right person for that. And what's really cool about Everplans is you can even fully designate out who gets what information. So if you want financial information to only go to your financial advisor, and you want all of your property related information to go to your executor, you can do that. And so it allows you to really determine and distinguish what feels most appropriate to which party. So I highly encourage you to check out one of these systems and get your information started. Another resource that I'm a huge advocate of, and I cannot stress how big of an advocate I am for this, and that is password managers. So password managers work like this. So if you've ever logged in to an account on your computer, you may have noticed like your browser is keeping your login information. So your password, your username, so it just pops right up in there when you're logging in. That's great and so easy, but that also is not super secure depending on which browser you're using. And so what Dashlane and 1Password and LastPass and those systems are doing is they are basically storing all of that login information securely. They're also letting you know if your password has been part of a data breach. So if your password that you used for Gmail or for your online banking is a part of a data breach, they will let you know. They will also let you know wherever that password has been used for other accounts. So not calling anyone out here, but if you are the kind of person who uses your same first name, last name, birthday type of password, it will let you know how many times you've used that and which accounts you need to change that password for because it was a part of a data breach. Because that's how hackers work, right? I mean, they use a password that they assume you're using for other accounts, and then that's how they go haywire on that kind of thing, and so you just want to get ahead of it. Password managers are super helpful if something happens to you in this regard because there are so many times that when you are dealing with a lost loved one's accounts and services, it is so much easier to handle those things and close them out if you can get into the actual account itself on behalf of you, of course. And so in order to do that, they need to know login information. The easiest way to log in is to have your password. And so if you were able to put in a master password, so that's how all of these password managers work, is they have one controlling master password that allows you to access all of your passwords in there. So theoretically, if you were able to give your master password to someone that you trusted, or you put in Everplans and designated who got that master password upon your passing or incapacitation, then they are able to log into those accounts, transfer assets as they need to, close things down as they need to. It is so helpful because we are living so much of our lives online, and so it's so critical to be able to get into these accounts, shut things down, move ownership over to somebody else if there's, if you needed to switch it over to your name or whoever, change a credit card out that's on file, whatever that looks like. Trust me when I say that getting into accounts is so critical, and I feel like password managers are a big help with that. So I think looking into one of these systems, seeing what works for you. What's also really nice is that these many of these systems you see on the screen have an app version as well, so that you can have it on your phone. So if you're logging into an app on your phone or a website or whatever, it does that auto population for you as well. It does like the facial recognition, or you can set it up that way so that it's not just for anyone to be able to get into if that worries you at all. And it is awesome, because I feel like there's a lot of times maybe your computer browser has saved your login information, but you're trying to do something on your phone and you can't find it. It is a tool that I think is helpful while you are still able to do everything on your own, and it is also very helpful for your family if you are no longer able to. I would love for you to consider it because I think it's a great resource. So another resource that I think is really helpful to just have in place, and that is where do you store all of your financial information? So what is the money coming in and coming out, and where can your your family see the whole overview of that? There are so many systems in place that can help you with that, but what I typically find is that the families that I work with in terms of closing out accounts on behalf of their loved one is they just don't know what money was spent where. Of course you have like banks, and then you have your credit cards, and then you have like mortgage, and you have investments, and they can often be all over the place. And so these kinds of systems help bring all of that together so that someone could get a full holistic picture of your financial situation so that they can know what accounts they need to close out, what assets are in your name so that they can transfer those to the appropriate parties, and what debt's in your name so they know how to handle that appropriately. So systems like Mint, for instance, if you're not familiar with this, this is like where you would, it's an application where you would tie in your bank account, you would tie in your mortgage, you would tie in your credit cards, all of those different systems so that Mint creates your full holistic picture. I find it is really helpful in times of needing to understand specifically like how a household is run. So what services are needed to run this household? It sounds so small and minor, but it can be so helpful to know who's your pest service, who's your lawn service, who's the cleaner, who kind of keeps this house, running basically. Those are the little things I found that really take families down because it takes energy to find it out and it feels so minor and it feels like you're not doing much to get things done, but yet you really need to know this stuff for whatever reason, and it just feels like if you had it all in one place, you can make it so much easier for your family. Another service that does similar to Mint, but they actually pull out all of your monthly reoccurring expenses, is a system called Trim. So why I like Trim is because when I am working with families, a big part of what I do is trying to find those reoccurring charges to their lost loved one's name. So whether that's like subscriptions or a service that they are paying for, I just had a client who had, I don't even know how many, like maybe 20 yearly subscriptions to just various services like software or virus protection, things like that, where it was specific to that person who passed away, their equipment. So of course that's not needed anymore, but it's hard to see when it's something as infrequent as yearly. And so it's helpful to have that in place so that you can kind of see what needs to be closed out, what do you no longer need because that person's no longer here. Okay, physical items. Dealing with physical items is something that can be so taxing for family because there's estate sales and there's selling things on Facebook Marketplace and donating and all of that, but it seems to be really time consuming. So what I have found is that there's a lot of different ways to tackle this in addition to those traditional services that I mentioned, but you have family that is really not agreeing on where things should go. There are systems that help you delineate who gets what and how do we bid on this in a very democratic way. Fair Split, the one that you see here on the left side of the screen, is a service that will basically just allocate points to your family, and you can use those points to bid on items that were your grandmother's or your mother's or whoever, so that it's a really clean process of who gets what. Because a lot of times wills don't distinguish who gets the china cabinet, who gets the secretary, who gets the chair that everyone loved. That kind of thing can really start to rattle families if you let it. And so systems like Fair Split are just very democratic, and here's who gets it and why. There seems to be a lot of need for storage as well. So if that's a storage unit or just someplace to put stuff that people don't know what to deal with yet, there's a service called Stash that is basically like an Uber and a mix between an Uber and an Airbnb for storage. So it's basically renting out space in other people's homes. I know that feels somewhat startling, but it is kind of an innovative approach to a cheaper way of doing storage for families. So I sometimes like to mention that. And then a lot of times we have these photos and video reels and they're older and we don't know what to do with them and we want to digitize them, but we don't know how. There are services, of course, that do that. One that's more prominent is called Legacy Box, and they are great about just digitizing everything, any kind of older format that you could think of. They are great about putting it all together for you in a really concise way so that all family could see it if they wanted access to it, which I think is great because a lot of times those memories get lost when family can't look at them all together.